VigilanteWilliamson here with a very simple question, and that is, what do you think about Ryan Garcia after his knockout victory of Oscar Duarte? Before we get into this video too much, we are dangerously close to 200 subs, and I want to get that before the end of the year. I think we can do it. I would really appreciate your help. So if you like the stuff I do around here, please like, sub, share, all that good stuff, and especially sub. Let's get to 200. In any event, let's get into Ryan. First things first, I will admit that since Ryan's loss to Tank, I've become a bit of a fan of him, so I could be biased in the rest of this video. Granted, you know, one of the first videos I made about sports on this channel and what kind of developed the channel in this direction was me questioning whether or not he quit and his knockout loss against Tank. And ironically, this has a little similar thing, not quite quitting, but at the end when Duarte got up, he kind of got up at 8, but the ref waved it off, so not quite quitting, but still staying down, maybe a little too long. In any event, me questioning him was one of the things that helped this channel get to where it is. And since then, he's made a fan out of me. He went with Derrick James. You know, a lot of people aren't the biggest fan of Derrick James, but he was the trainer of the year last year, for whatever that's worth. He's had public issues with his own promotional team, that being Oscar De La Hoya and Bernard Hopkins, for good reason. I even lined out in the video around that time why I thought he needs to get rid of those guys. I don't think they really care about his success. They at least haven't shown that. But he's still having it out with them, but they're still fighting. He's still fighting because he's still a big star. The crowd for the fight was very loud, very expressive, including when they booed Ryan for getting on his bicycle at one point. I didn't see the whole fight, just saw the highlights. But from what I can tell, it's about what I expect. I get that a lot of people are down on Ryan because he was a little overhyped, a little. The hype has exceeded where his skill level is. I understand that, and I still think that's the case. That said, I think he's working hard. Like I said, I become a fan of him, and yeah, it's not all just because of his boxing work ethic, though I appreciate it. I appreciate that he's trying to call out guys like Teofimo and other people, and he's still game. Despite losing to Tank, he's still game to fight big names. But I also appreciate that he's a guy who, despite having sponsorships, despite being an internet personality, that being a big part of who Ryan Garcia is, i.e. he has a lot of stuff to lose. He was pretty critical of Target when they were having some, well, to stay YouTube friendly, we'll just say questionable marketing towards children. And he was very, very vocal at something that he had every reason to just kind of be quiet on. He didn't have to say anything about it, and he did. And I appreciate that, and I respected that. So he's a guy I respect. He's a guy that shows himself to be game to challenges in general. And so yeah, I'm a bit of a fan of his. So I could be giving him kids glove coverage in this video. At least I'm letting you know that. At least I'm being honest. I don't plan to. Like I said, I still see that he's a flawed boxer, but I was still impressed. I don't have this pie in the sky expectation for Ryan Garcia that he's going to become the pound for pound #1 overall. I get that he's a guy who has some limitations, but he's also a guy that's still pretty young. I think he's what, 23, 24, something like that. And he does still have some power. He does still have some physical gifts. Even though the crowd didn't appreciate Ryan getting on his bicycle, it's good to see that he could move around a ring that was very small against a real pressure fighter. So I see why he might have thought maybe they're trying to set him up to beat him. He proved he can still hang. He proved he still had a lot of power. He didn't prove that he was flawless, but he has a lot of power. He still has a lot of size for that division, and he could probably even go up a little bit. And I say that division, I know he fights sometimes 135, sometimes 140. He can go up to 147. I think he's got enough size to do it. And maybe he will. Maybe he'll be one of those guys after this era, after Spence, Crawford, and such, you know, leave or retire or whatever happens with them. Maybe in 2 or 3 years, he is going to be at 147. And that's the real thing. Where is he going to be in a few years? I think by getting with Derrick James, and you can say what you will about him, I think he's getting better training than he was getting from Joe Goosen, or at least training that he's connecting with. And you know what? Ryan Garcia, in fairness, has gotten called out by Eddie Reynoso and other people about not necessarily being the most gym rat type personality. He's been called out as somebody who maybe didn't train as often or as hard as others would like. So he's got to show his maturity as well as being able to actually listen to Derrick James and actually train how he wants him to train. And Derrick James is under so much criticism and so much fire because of Spence and Charlo, how they performed earlier in the year. A lot of people are saying, are you really the trainer of the year? Are you really that guy? Because his fighters have lost a couple of big fights. But in any event, I think I was impressed with Ryan. He knocked the guy out. It was a pressure fighter in a very small ring. He showed a lot of movement. He still has some stuff to work on. He still does look fundamentally lacking at certain things defensively, even though it was a lot of motion. But he was able to punch hard. And yeah, he could get better at moving with punching. He can get better at smoothness. But I do like he made himself a smaller target despite being a bigger guy. He did some stuff in there. And he, first fight under a new trainer. Still a lot to work on. It's going to take 3 or 4 fights to find out where he's at. So similar to my video launching on the other channel talking about GTA and their 2025 release date, we're not going to really know how Ryan Garcia really is as a fighter until 2025. Everything up until that point is just the download and everything that needs to go on, the work that needs to be done, getting him into that point. That's when he's going to be in his alleged physical prime as a fighter, and he'll have allegedly enough experience to see what he is. So really, Ryan Garcia is still a project fighter until 2025 to me. And maybe people will say that's kid's glove. I get people, not everyone likes him. I understand that. I understand that he got a lot of hype. He got a lot of Instagram following. That everything about Ryan Garcia is not about what happens in the boxing ring. But that's the shit. That's the entertainment business as a whole nowadays. It's about your Instagram following. And for a guy who's an Instagram guy, he seems to be showing that he's willing to put in the work. Now, that may not have always been the case, but it seems like it is right now. I think that loss might have humbled him. So I want to see what happens with Ryan Garcia. But what do you think? If you like the video, please like the video. If you're so obliged to share, subscribe, please do that. And even if you do none of these things, thank you for watching. Thank you for your time. Good night and God bless. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.